All right, welcome back to the program. In case you're just joining us, it's the segment where we look at the economics of COVID-19 pandemic. Joining me right now is my guest. He's joining me from Lagos. He's Atedo Peterside. He's the founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC and the chairman of the ANAP Foundation COVID-19 think tank. Welcome to you, sir. Good morning from Abuja. How is Lagos? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now. Good morning. Now I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, let's move quickly to the conversation. Since we confirmed the first case on the 27th of February of this year, how would you assess the fight against COVID so far? Are we winning the fight? The president has extended by another 14 days the lockdown. Are we winning the fight so far in your own assessment?
I think it is too early to say we are winning the fight, but one thing I can definitely confirm is that we are doing some things right, and we have to improve some other things that we are doing. And we have to ensure that we stay the course because we were caught a little bit unawares by the fight. So we have to do a number of things to catch up with other countries who are slightly in front of us on the race.
What are the things, from what you said, what are the things that you think we've been doing right?
Okay, I think before I address that question, I will just explain that for almost every country, there are three different pillars involved in the COVID-19 fight. There is the medical, which is pillar 1. There is the governance pillar, which is pillar 2. And there is the pillar 3 is about communications. So if you focus on just the medical without communications, you will go nowhere. That explains why you've seen President Buhari on TV 2 nights ago, and you saw him on TV, also, on March 29th. It's about communication, because if you can't communicate with the populace, please, I'm not saying that it's for the president alone. It's for the entire elite, including governors, LGA chairmen, private sector. Constant communication is required. And then the governance pillar is very important also, because if you begin the race late and you don't have due process and you don't have division of labor and you duplicate efforts or you're wasteful, you will not win the fight. So those are the three pillars that are very key to the fight, to winning the battle. I repeat, medical, governance, and communications. We are doing better and better every day on communications. On governance, the jury is still out. The jury is still out because Nigeria has been plagued for a long time by rogue regulators. I give an example of how these rogue regulators can be a nuisance. Everybody knows that Lagos cannot feed itself. We have close to 17 million people in a confined space. Food must come in from outside. Farmers report to my think tank or distributors that when they're bringing in food, there are policemen on the road trying to extort money from them, thereby making it more expensive to bring food into Lagos. At no time did anybody in government say that nobody must bring food into Lagos. Without food, we will starve. So the governance issues are as important. So if you want, for the rest of the interview, we can focus on health, on the medical side, or you can talk a bit on the governance side, or you can talk a bit on the communication side. It's up to you to allocate the time, but I would advise that we start from the medical.
Okay. So let's start from there, because from what you're saying, that we're doing quite a bit, at least in the communication side, but also going through your press release that was the statement that was released yesterday. I can see that you said that's your foundation that will propose that these should be increased using a range of media channels, including radio jingles, TV, advertisements, posters, social media, as well as newspapers. That's for the communication side, which you've talked about. But let's take a look at the medical side, which you've just mentioned.
Okay, on the medical side, I don't mean to offend anybody, because please believe me, people there have been working 24/7. In fact, I'm concerned for some of them, because this is a massive problem they are facing. I think on the medical side, we all know that historically Nigeria didn't invest sufficiently in healthcare. So we were not properly equipped for normal times. Now we have to equip ourselves for a major medical emergency. So we're a different ballgame from Germany, who in the best of times were equipped and ready for an emergency. And that explains why Germany's results so far in terms of treatment is one of the best. We are starting late, and we're starting from a lowly position in terms of the attention and care we have given to the entire healthcare sector. But having said that, even when you begin late in a race, there are some things you must do. Number one, you must define what are the priorities you must spend money on to catch up. That's why our first press release mentioned 7 priorities. And please, there's no 8 and there's no 9. If you're starting late, you must get test kits, number 1. 2, molecular laboratories, number 2. 3, surgical face masks and other cloth face coverings. 4, personal protective equipment for doctors, and also get as many doctors as possible and even reserve retired medical personnel, final year doctors into the race. 5, respirators, ventilators are usually helpful for treating the elderly. 6, some drugs we mentioned, which seem to have had some encouraging results, need to be purchased in large quantity. And number 7, very important, a safety net. Safety net, by that I mean you cannot go into all this lockdown, social distancing, and you don't have any plan for the unemployed and underemployed. In Nigeria, there are roughly 40 million unemployed and underemployed people. So if you want them to stay in one place or indeed to be locked up, you have to have a plan for them. Please, that figure of 40 million is in terms of employment. Actually, the number of poor people in Nigeria is estimated by NBS, recent estimates, to be 80 million Nigerians out of 180 million total population, roughly. So I'm saying that you have to have a plan for those 80 million people who are poor, classified and confirmed as being poor. Now, please, let's be very careful. I'm not one to waste my time blaming government. If you do the numbers, if there are 180 million Nigerians and 80 are poor, okay, so those are the bottom 80. Add the next 20 and assume that those next 20 can just about feed themselves because they are not poor. It then means that the richest 80 million can feed themselves and can probably also contribute or help to feed the bottom 80. So even if every one person in the top 80 feeds at least one other person in the bottom 80, we have solved the problem. That is without government intervention. A member of the ANAP Foundation COVID-19 think tank, Mr. Stanbic, the owner of Xerox Computers, owner of Konga, is going out to feed 7,000 people a day. I'm trying to show you that rich people can help the government to solve this problem. So we want more examples like Stanbic. Conversely, what we don't want is rich people constantly being distracted. Instead of coming and join Stanbic to feed the poor, suddenly somebody thinks there is some money available at central bank, billions. So the same rich people leave the task of feeding the poor, get distracted, and begin to chase applying for things that are for the future. Can we just focus first and solve the problem of the poor? No. Because please believe me, if you don't solve that problem, the poor will infect the rich and we will all die.
Mm. Okay, so let me just take you on the 7th pillar, which you said here, still on the medical. And I'm quite interested in that safety net, handouts to 40 million unemployed and underemployed. Are you by any means saying that what the government has been doing in terms of doling out palliatives, the president also announced just a few days ago that more households will be joined to collect the palliatives, the conditional cash transfer and all of that. Is that not a good strategy to be able to give social handouts to 40 million underemployed and unemployed Nigerians?
Nancy, let's use real figures. I think the president mentioned increasing what the federal government is doing to cover 2.5 million households or something like that.
2.6 to make it 3.6 million.
Thank you. I love that. The correction. Now let me explain. The total number of poor people in Nigeria using NBS official estimate, is 80 million people. 80 million. 2.6 million households does not cover all of the 80 million people. So if federal government is trying to look after 2.6 million households out of them, I'm saying that the richer Nigerians, state governments, LGAs, NGOs must now join to look after all of the 80 million poor people. Please, the 80 million people are poor, confirmed to be poor. So even telling them that you're only going to look after 2.6 million households out of them would drive them almost crazy, because